Mr. Trudeau! Justin Trudeau is politically imploding. We're going to see the latest public humiliation he's had to go through. We're going to see how his polls have utterly plummeted. And make sure to stick with me at the very end of this video when I'll reveal how even liberal pundits are now predicting the end of the era of Trudeau. You're not going to want to miss this. The legacy media appears rather shocked to see how fast their rising star Justin Trudeau has fallen. Videos swarmed the Twitterverse last night showing Trudeau mobbed by angry protesters demanding that he resign. Analysts are noting that these protesters are not alone. In 2015, there were 8 Liberal governments throughout Canada's 10 provinces. Today, there remains only one. It appears more and more that Canadians are moving away from Trudeau and Trudeau's Liberal Party, and that is catching the attention, however reluctantly, the legacy media. The left-wing British rag The Guardian is openly asking the question as to whether the recent resignation of New Zealand's Prime Minister foreshadows Trudeau's debate. And they're not alone. According to CTV News, quote, when it comes to finding his exit ramp, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has a new retirement road. On the far side of the planet, a once popular feminist prime minister who battled violent parliament obstructing protests over pandemic policy, divided the population over its vaccination status, fought to green up resource industries, and struggled with an economy inflating in a recession, has called it quits just as an election year dawns with her polling numbers skidding downward. That eerily familiar Trudeau-esque scenario marks the reign of New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern, which will end after 5 years in power. Now, as many of you know, Ardern shocked the world by suddenly announcing her resignation as prime minister, which represented an astonishing fall for that rapidly rising international star. We have to remember that Ardern was really nothing short of a beacon of hope among those on the left who had been totally destabilized by the election of Donald Trump and the passage of the Brexit referendum. I mean, we have to understand that that double whammy of Brexit and Trump was an existential crisis for the left. And leftist politicians like Jacinda Ardern of New Zealand were the answer to this existential crisis. They were going to deliberately create the political and economic conditions that would never allow something like Trump or Brexit to happen again. I mean, this is what we're seeing here in the States with Maricopa County. Maricopa County is just a symbol of the antics the permanent political class has stooped to make sure that a Brexit-Trump assault never happens to the liberal international order again, even though it's dead and there's nothing you can do about it. And yet, despite all the fanfare that Ardern received from the fawning international media, she politically collapsed. She fell victim to the same degenerating conditions that Biden is falling victim to. Inflation, a stuttering economy, rising crime, as well as her gutting the agricultural industry, which was the crown jewel of New Zealand's economy. And all that pulled the mask off this absurd notion that her politics were anything worthy of maintaining, let alone emulating. And so politically, she just fell apart. And even the leftist Guardian is asking, so who's next? She was the first international leader to fall after the disastrous effects of draconian COVID policies became apparent, but she will most certainly not be the last. And many are noting that the politician that looks most likely to fall next is Justin Trudeau. Wait until you see why. First, gang, you gotta click on that link below and treat yourself or a loved one with a warm, soft, comfortable MyPillow product from the one and only Patriot Mike Lindell. It's the new year, and what better way to celebrate than taking advantage of Mike's insanely low prices if you use my special promo code Turley. Promo code Turley will get you near 70% discount on all of Mike's nearly 200 MyPillow products. Gang, 70%. So if you get the classic MyPillow, that's normally $69.98. Just punch mention promo code Turley, and that same classic MyPillow will become $19.98. And that applies to over 200 products in their catalog. So don't wait. Click on that link below. Give the gift of comfort and warmth to yourself and your loved ones. Support one of America's most amazing patriots and get the best savings ever with code Turley. Click on that link below right now. As we speak, Trudeau's poll numbers are plummeting. All the while, his conservative opponent, Pierre Poilievre, is seeing his poll numbers surge, and he has no problem letting Trudeau know about it.
Hey, Justin, I see that you're desperate again. You know how I know? Because when you get desperate, you divide and distract. And that's what you did today. I read in the Liberal pamphlet, the Toronto Star, that you claim the reason you're so unpopular with Canadians is because Canadians are racist. This from a guy who dressed up in racist costumes so many times, he can't even remember them all. Really, Justin, you can't remember how many times you dressed up in racist costumes? This from a guy who fired the first Indigenous female Attorney General. Why? Because she refused to help you get your corporate friends off of criminal charges after they stole $100 million from Africa's poorest people. This from a guy whose own MPs, Liberal MPs, Justin, said that you mistreated them so badly that they actually had to leave caucus. That's your ugly, racist past. You're in no position to be calling anyone else racist, but we know why you're doing it. You want to distract. You want people to be afraid. Because if people are afraid of their neighbor, they might forget that they can't afford their rent. If they're afraid of their fellow Canadians, they might forget that under your watch we have 40-year highs in inflation. People can't afford to eat, that there are 1.5 million people going to food banks every single month, that food banks have had people ask them for help in committing suicide because life has become so miserable under your watch, that you want people to forget, to be fearful so that they forget that crime has gone up. So what have you done? You've tried to make people afraid of hunters by saying that it's Indigenous and rural people who are hunting that are causing all of the inner city crime and not the many repeat violent offenders that you're releasing into the street. You want people to be afraid so that they forget that this is the chaos. This is the chaos we have at our airports. By the way, Justin, I'm able to record this message right now because my flight is late. Of course it's late. Flights are always late since you became Prime Minister. The federal government is responsible for air transportation. Yes, that's you, my friend. And you don't want people to remember that you have failed in all of these areas. So you divide to distract. Well,
that's the amazing Pierre Poilievre, the leader of the Conservative Party there in Canada and future Prime Minister. And he's going to be a wonderful one. Now, if you don't know what Pierre Poilievre is referring to there about Trudeau dressing up, he's reminding Trudeau of his blackface scandal that almost sank his campaign a couple of years back. It should have, in my opinion. But originally, it started with an old photograph from years back that resurfaced that showed Trudeau in a full blackface costume. And he apologized, played it down, said no big deal. And then like with Biden's classified documents, we just kept finding photo after photo after photo after photo of him going full blackface, brown face, you name it. Again, it was like, you know, when was he not dressing up like this? There you would have had fewer pictures. So Poilievre is just pointing out the absurdly hypocritical obvious here with Trudeau playing the race card. And to make matters even worse for Trudeau, he actually skipped town and vacation at a posh beach resort on the day Canada was commemorating their first ever national holiday to recognize past abuses against Indigenous peoples. Now, regardless what you think of the holiday, it was an optics disaster, to say the least. So it's going to be very interesting to see if Trudeau is going to be able to weather this storm of unpopularity. But as his poll numbers continue to implode, even liberal media pundits agree that appears very unlikely. As always, make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. You'll definitely want to check out my latest video on Jordan Peterson, another great Canadian, deciding to wreck a woke politician on live TV. You are not going to want to miss this. So make sure to click on the link and I'll see you over there. God bless.